Ata Maria, and welcome everyone to today's Community Connections meeting. We're just going to start with a karakia before we get into it. Nā mai e runga pou ko te pai, nā mai e tānei, nā hau ki te puta o te ao. Ko ranganoi ki runga, ko papatōnuku ki raro. Ka puta ko te whao, ko te ao marama. Tuturu, whakawhita, whakamoa, kia tīna, haumea, huie, tai ki e. Okay, we're just going to start with apology. So we've got an apology from Kashan, and it looks like everyone else is here. Yep. Can we have a mover and seconder for those apologies? Mayor Scott and Councillor Amboy, seconded. We've got a couple from Public Forum, but we're going to bring them in later on. And any notifications of items not on the agenda? Doesn't look like there is. Any declaration conflicts of interest in relation to this meeting's items of business? Okay, and confirmation of the minutes. So we'll go through them page by page. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. Page 7. And page 8. There's a couple of items in there that I'd like to bring up, but they are actually in the agenda, so we'll wait till later for those. Okay, can we have a mover and seconder for the confirmation of the minutes? Councillor Corlett and Councillor Kennedy. Thank you. Okay, and we're going into reports. So we're going to start with Bush Multisport Trust, their annual report, and we've got Bex and Raylene coming to the table.
I'm sorry, we can't hear anything online.
Nothing's been said. We're just trying to pull up the report. Won't be a minute,
Okay,
Steve.
thanks.
We're ready to go. Welcome, ladies.
Good. Thank you very much. Good morning, Mayor and councillors. So thank you for the opportunity to present the Bush Multisport Trust annual report for the 2025-2026 year. And I'd like to take the BMST report as read. Firstly, I'd like to just acknowledge the relationship and that we have with Tararua District Council for your ongoing support and partnership. Bush Multisport is proud to work alongside the Council to manage and enhance Bush Multisport Park for the benefit of our entire district. Cool, thank you. That's all right. Notes stay on this one. Yeah, thank you. Our partnership with Tararoa District Council continues to be one of the Trust's greatest strengths. Working together allows us to continually improve the Bush Multisport Trust while ensuring it remains accessible and affordable for our community. The Council's investment provides confidence to external funding organisations, helping us successfully secure additional grants that further improve our facilities and services. This collaborative approach means Council's contribution extends to well beyond annual operational funding. It becomes an investment that generates additional opportunities and long-term benefits for our district. Next slide, please. Bush Multisport Trust has evolved into far more than a sporting venue. It has become one of the district's most important community hubs. Every week, our facilities welcome sports clubs, schools, community organisation, fitness providers, families and individuals. And throughout the past year, we've continued to host events that bring people together, including the Bush Club Day, Tararoa 7-a-side tournament, representative fixtures, health and wellbeing programs, the Kahuiako Cultural Festival and community group programs. One program that we're particularly proud of is our Bush Athletics program. Our participation had continued to grow more with than 110 young athletes involved this last season. The program has also received regional recognition for its innovation and community impact, demonstrating what can be achieved when organisations work together. We're equally proud of our inclusive programs, including our monthly neurodiverse community group, which provides a welcoming environment where individuals and families can connect, build friendships and participate in recreation. Our health and wellbeing classes, and one of our providers is here today, continue to attract strong participation and provide opportunities for older adults, parents and people wanting to improve their wellbeing. These programs demonstrate that Bush Multisport Trust truly serves everyone, not just organised sport. Next slide, please. Our focus is always on ensuring Council's investments deliver lasting values, and over the past year we've continued to attract funding from a range of organisations and allowing us to complete our facility improvements without placing additional pressure on Council funding. Two significant projects completed this last year was the new stadium dividing curtain and the gas heating and hot water system upgrade. These upgrades have improved our efficiency, reduced operating costs, increased our flexibility within the stadium, and enhanced the experience for every user. Along with these improvements, we've continued to strengthen relationships with sponsors, community organisations, and funding agencies. Our long-term goal is simply to continue growing participation, improving our facilities, and reducing reliance on any one funding source while delivering exceptional value back into our community. As we look forward, our priorities remain clear. We want to increase our facility utilisation, attract more regional sporting and community events, and continue improving our facilities. We want to strengthen our partnerships throughout the district, grow opportunities for participation across all ages and abilities, and ensure that Bush Multisport Trust remains financially sustainable for future generations. Every decision we make is guided by one question: how does this benefit our community? Again, I'd like to thank Tararoa District Council and also our relationship with Sport Manawatu and Sport Tararoa. Our continued partnerships allow the Trust to develop opportunities that simply wouldn't be possible without everyone's support. Together we've created more than a sports facility. We've created a place where people connect, children develop confidence, families spend time together, and communities celebrate, where everyone has the opportunity to participate regardless of age or ability. On behalf of the Bush Multisport Trust Board, our staff, our volunteers, our sporting clubs and the wider community, thank you for your ongoing confidence in our organisation. We look forward to continuing alongside the Council to grow Bush Multisport Trust into an even stronger community asset for the Tararoa District. Thank you.
Thank you, Bex. Do we have any questions? It was a great report. We've been very busy over the last 12 months. Mayor Scott.
Thanks very much, Chair. Erina, mine's more of a comment. I just wanted to thank you, your staff, but also your volunteer board for everything that they bring to the community. I think we know quite well the impact that it has. One of the really striking things about me coming into my role is I get to talk to other mayors from outside of our district and other councillors from all over the place. And I'm continually reminded by them of what a great facility we have for a small rural community, but also how each time they visit it, it always looks like it's improving. And that's no mean feat in this climate. So, please pass on my thanks to everyone involved, and I certainly value the partnership that we have. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms Scott. And just want to note apologies from our board chair, Jared Brock, couldn't be with us today.
Sorry, Jared couldn't be here, or nor could Matt Anderson, who are the board chair and treasurer, but just I'm a trustee as well, and just on behalf of the board, we really want to reiterate what Bex has said about your support and your grant that helps us maintain the facility to the standard it is. So thank you.
Thank you, Raylene. Councillor Amboy.
Thank you, Madam Chair Irina. Thank you, ladies, for this report. And I just want to say a big mihi and thank you to you and your team for all that you guys do for the rangatahi across the district. It means a lot, and your work is amazing. But I guess I'm just curious to know what financial sustainability looks like for the Trust long term. I guess for me, being still relatively new-ish to the seat, it's just like to have that kind of understanding. And are we seeing its reliance on council funding increase or decrease over time? Just love to know your thoughts. Thank you.
Thanks, Alison. The Bush Māori Trust does have reserves. We have I wouldn't say significant amount, but we do have an amount there in reserves for to cover us for anything unexpected that we won't be knocking on council's door to ask for money. Bush Māori Sport, over the time that I've been a trustee, we haven't increased our grant. We've just increased by inflation. So we haven't been asking for that kind of money. There is reserves that the council have that we have used a couple of times for the depreciation reserve, that we've used a couple of times, one for the light towers and now for the soundproofing in the stadium. Yeah, but we've contributed half that. Yeah.
Councillor Corlett.
Thank you, Erina. And thank you, guys. The report's really good. It shows a lot of what you're doing, but it also doesn't show a lot of what else goes on. There's a huge amount of work that goes on there. Having kids that go to a lot of events there all through summer, a few times a week we're there. So it's very busy. So thank you to everyone involved. The question I had, with all the projects and everything going on, you've completed the curtain, you've done the water upgrade. What sort of things are you looking at in the future that can sort of be expected to sort of see expand there? If you've got anything you can let us know.
So we've just received the remainder of the funding for sound panels in the stadium. We did notice that once we had put in the ply, is it for, trying to reduce the cold and heat, that we noticed that there was more of a sound echo in such a large room. So we were able, along with the depreciation reserves and external funding, that's our project that's been completed in 2 weeks' time. So that's one of our ones. Our next project, and I have spoken about this before, is our turf replacement. So that is our next big project that we're working on at the moment.
Thank you. Some exciting things happening down at the Bush Multisport. Any other questions? All good. Okay, we'll take the recommendation that the report from the manager of Democracy Services dated the 5th of August 2026 concerning the Bush Multisports Trust Annual Report 2026 be received, and that the annual report from the Bush Multisport Trust for the periods 1st of July 25 to the 30th of June 26 be received. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Amboy, Councillor Kennedy. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Thank you, ladies. Next we have Sport Tararoa to deliver their 12-month report. And we have Bex, we have Raylene, Carl, Kelly and Sam. And Megan. Sorry, Megan. So many of you. We're just getting the PowerPoint organised.
Kia ora, I'm Kelly, the Chief Executive Officer of Sport Manawatu. It's lovely to be here. Thank you for having us. As you'll see, just like our mahi, this is a team approach, so we've brought the team along with us. Firstly, I'd like to sincerely thank Tararua District Council, elected members and council staff for your ongoing support and partnership. The mahi throughout this report would not be possible without a shared commitment to creating a healthier, more active and connected Tararua District. I want to acknowledge Council in these challenging times and these decisions that you have made to date, and the exciting news about the expanding city, as I was listening to Mayor Gilmore on the radio last week. Congratulations on that. While we are sad to acknowledge Raylene and her resignation, I'm heartened to know that no doubt we will continue to work together. And I want to personally thank her for all her mahi and her amazing self and all that she has brought to Sport Manawatu. I also want to acknowledge Bex and the amazing work that Bush Multisport Trust and the team there do as well. As you can see, our mahi have been very busy over the last year. And today I'm going to start with some of our mahi that's a little less visible and is behind the scenes, but is still very relevant. While this report highlights programmes, events and community outcomes, an increasingly important part of Sport Manawatu's role is providing system leadership and advocacy across play, recreation and sport. Through our close relationship with schools, clubs, regional sports organisations, iwi, community groups and participants, we are able to identify emerging issues, bringing organisations together and ensuring community perspectives are reflected in decision making. Recent examples include advocacy relating to the OCG bill, supporting organisations transitioning into the Incorporated Societies Act, and monitoring changes to community funding mechanisms such as lotteries and DIA. An engagement and to propose changes to the police vetting process. While these initiatives are often well-intentioned, they can create significant challenges for our volunteer-led organisations. One issue we are currently monitoring is the potential introduction of cost recovery for police vetting. While strong safeguarding measures are essential, additional costs could place further pressures on already stretched community sports organisations and volunteers. Sport 102 has submitted feedback on behalf of the sector and encouraged local organisations to do the same. We will share a submission with elected members for your information so that you have all that information so you know what I'm talking about. We look forward to engaging with Council through the long-term plan process. As we did during the previous LTP, Sport Taurua will work in partnership with Council to bring the sport and recreation sector together to better understand the process and how to make submissions. Our goal is to ensure elected members can make informed decisions that reflect community needs and priorities. The previous approach was really well received, and we look forward to working alongside Council again to support meaningful community participation in the process. And finally, to our partners, as Bex eloquently said, you can't do these things alone. So Sport Tarua's impact is built on strong partnerships. Over the past year, we have worked alongside Bush Multisport Trust, local government, iwi, schools, regional sports organisations, clubs, health providers, community organisations, volunteers and funders to create more opportunities for people to be active. This collaborative approach was reflected in our independent stakeholder survey, where 80% of stakeholders reported that we work in partnership with them. It's about locally led solutions that we support. Council's investment helps strengthen these community-led solutions that deliver real impact. Now I'm going to pass
over. The first key highlight is the Taurua Sports Awards that were held in March at the Tory Brewery. This brought together athletes, coaches, officials.
Sorry, Raylene. Can we swap mics? Because it actually doesn't even show you on the screen.
Oh,
Sorry. Thank you.
The first key highlight up there is the Taurua Sports Awards, which was held in March. This brought together athletes, coaches, officials, volunteers, clubs, schools, sponsors, whānau, and supporters. It was more than celebrating sporting results. It recognised the volunteers, our officials, coaches, and community organisations working behind the scene to keep local sport strong in the Taurua. We acknowledge Council as a key supporter, sponsor of this event, and we really appreciate it. You sponsored 2 awards, the Taurua Sportsperson and the Supreme Sportsperson categories. A special moment for that night was having Rebecca Mani inducted into the Taurua Legends of Sport for her mahi she's done for our community and regionally and nationally as well. So that was a great event. Yeah. For that one. The Te Tangata program is a program that I've worked on at Taurua College that was co-designed for the students, working with disengaged students at the school. It has had a real impact, and we have a video. Are you going to show that now or later? Later, okay. And Carl will show you a video of the impact that it's had on them. The Taurua Youth Network, the next one, is Taurua Community Services have brought together all agencies, health, education, local government in the Taurua to work together more collaboratively with it, for our rangatahi, and it is going really well, and the collaboration has been good, and there's been some good success out of that. We're currently working on a strategy that for the district. It's just we're just taking it around to the agencies now to give their feedback. Yeah. The Bush Club Day and Positive Vibes. This is an initiative that Sport Manawa 2 have that recognises positive sideline behaviour from coaches, players, supporters, and we went round and handed out spot prizes when we saw positive behaviour either on the field or on the sideline for that. So Bush Club Day had rugby, hockey and football there competing. So there would have been over, I'd say 1,500 people there on that day. Yeah, so it was a huge day. So we had from juniors right through to seniors playing. So it was a great day.
Good morning. So I should actually. Hi everyone, I'm Megan. I haven't been along before, so a new face for you all. I am the community team lead at Sport Manawatu, so work closely with community connectors across our districts. So Australasian Parks Week. During Australasian Parks Week 2026, the community was encouraged to share photos of themselves enjoying parks across open spaces in Tararua. The campaign received 58 entries during the week. It was a simple initiative, but it highlighted local parks and places for play and active recreation. It reinforced the importance of accessible local spaces where people could be active without needing organised sport, specialised equipment and significant cost. Walk and Wheels Week was delivered in partnership with 5 Tararua primary schools from the 11th to the 15th of May. Approximately 940 people participated across the week, which was the biggest participant numbers across any of our districts that we work in, which was pretty cool. Schools were supported with promotion, assembly visits, concession cards, prizes, ground stencils and activity ideas. Something that was noticed by one school was the almost empty school car park and the reduced congestion around the school gates. The empty car park was a real tangible sign of impact. We're really excited to bring this back next year as well. Kai Ho Kai, this is a morning sports conditioning and wellbeing program for Year 7 and 8 students. It's led by iwi and has been supported by Hanikawa, our community connector, Sport Tararua and the Te Manawa Active Aotearoa funding. Its kaupapa is Feed the Body, Feed the Mind. The program brings together physical activity, nutrition, breakfast, leadership development and wellbeing support. Student feedback indicates rangatahi look forward to attending, feel fitter in their weekend sport, feel proud of their progress and enjoy sharing kai with friends. When you look across all these highlights, the common thread is connection. We've celebrated local wins, supported rangatahi, encouraged active transport, and strengthened programs that support the community. And like everyone keeps saying, that none of this is done alone, and yeah, it's all down to our amazing partnerships. We've got a funding snapshot up there. The Rural Travel Fund, over the last 6 month period, we've seen a huge demand for the Rural Travel Fund. We received 112 applications requesting more than $35,000 with 9,500 available to distribute. We were able to support 110 teams by spreading the funding across as many applicants as possible. This has had real impact in our rural district, helping reduce travel costs and making sure the distance barrier for tamariki and rangatahi is taken back a little bit. The demand really shows how important the funding is for our communities and the ongoing need to look for opportunities to grow in that support. Te Manawa is all about removing barriers and creating opportunities for tamariki and rangatahi to get active in ways that work for them. Over the last 12 months, $177,332 was invested through local and regional projects supporting Tararua youth. This included things like equipment, transport, and program delivery. A great example is the rangatahi-led community colour fun run, where young people have been given the opportunity to lead, create, and deliver an event in their own community. The Tū Tangata program was another great example of Te Manawa funding in action. We now have a couple of videos, hopefully that they will work from the tech side.
Councillor Wards.
Thanks, Chair, and what a fantastic program. What departments or agencies supported the funding for that, Raylene? Was it education or was it MSD? And my second question is, what criteria for those young people to access that program were applied?
So it was Te Manawa funding, Sport Manawatu administer the fund on behalf of Sport New Zealand. The criteria, it was teachers identified students that they thought would benefit from the program. So I have 20 names on the list, potentially have 15 a week, 12 to 15 a week turn up. Yeah.
Raylene, is that whole day or half a day that they do?
So it's 2 hours.
Oh, 2 hours.
2 hours on a Monday morning.
Monday morning.
So we start off with in the Te Aroha College gym. and then and the kids do, or the boys seem to lean towards the karate now. The girls started it, they've kind of a little bit off it, so just tailor it to what they want to do. So they'll play basketball, or they'll get out the badminton, or on Monday we had the trampolines out and they're doing flips to the mat. So it's just kind of let them decide, let them engage when they're ready. Don't like to force them to do it, because they don't need that. They just need someone there supporting them. Sometimes it's just talking to them. Yeah.
Mayor Scott.
Thanks very much, Chair Erina. What an incredible program, and I've heard how successful it is even without the video. I'm really sorry we couldn't get the tech working for you, but we were still able to see that. But hopefully people will be able to have a look, and we can share that with members of the public, because I think that's really important that they hear the impact in people's own words. So apologies for the tech for that. I just really want to thank Raylene for all of the huge amount of work that you've done, Raylene, in this really important role, and absolutely for our young people, but not just our young people. This spans across generations, the work that Sport Tararua is able to do, and it's super, super important. I've seen a real step change in how we're delivering things within the district, and that's a real tribute to your skills and your connections and relationships with the community. So thank you. One question, and tributes aside, and it's probably more of a question to Kelly, is it is incredible to see all of the things that have been achieved. Sports awards were fantastic as well. What I'm keen to understand is we see the 12-month report, which is great. How are we planning out our post-Raylene world in this space to make sure that momentum continues? Because this is something we can all be really proud of, and Sport Manawatu in particular can be proud of.
Kia ora, absolutely. And I guess with Sport Manawatu and Sport Tararua, it's a long-standing history of great mahi. And so therefore what you get is an entire team, not just a person. Obviously, we can't replace Raylene because she's irreplaceable, as individuals are. So what that is about looking at what the success is, also working with yourself and others in regards to what is really important and what you'd like to see in the next 12 months going ahead. And we have a whole team behind that with lots of different skills and expertise. So obviously we want to maintain those things that are working really well, and then look at opportunities in other areas of things like transport or other pressure areas as to how we can lean into those spaces. So I want to assure Council that actually we always aim to maintain and increase in regards to the impact in the community, and that is what we will be doing over the next 12 months.
You can carry on with the rest of the report. Yep.
Cool. Okay, so we've got a few things coming up. So at the moment, I'm not sure if you've seen, we've got a Twilight Walking series, which is a 4-week walking series happening here at the Dannevirke Park. We've actually got one happening on Friday, and then due to weather, we cancelled the last one, so hopefully we'll just continue that on for another week. So we'd love to see some of you there, would be great. Māori Language Week, we've created an online campaign. We're working alongside RSOs and highlighting a range of Māori kupu that we can use in a positive way to encourage people on the sideline. We also have Play Week coming up, which is in October from 19th to the 25th. We will be opening a quick release play fund in the beginning of September, and this will allow schools and organisations to apply up to $1,000 to do an activation during Play Week. That can be for all sorts of things like equipment and bits and pieces, which will be really cool. And then we've also got currently open the Te Manawa Active Aotearoa Fund, which is open until the end of August.
Kia ora, I'm Sam. I'm Healthy Active Learning, so I work in the primary school space. Something that we identified, well, since I've started in the last year or so, has been the isolation of rural schools. So we're trying really hard to push clusters and bring those rural schools together for activities. And it was actually yesterday that we did our first one, which was out at Pongaroa School. We had Mākuri School with us as well, and we ran PALS, which is our physical activity leaders program, and it went really well. So that was a really cool thing, and hopefully we can push it a little bit more and bring some more schools into that. So that's something we're working on. Excuse me. And that works towards our junior tabloids, which is the highlight of the year for our little juniors, and we bring all the schools in Dannevirke together. It is run by students, it's designed by students, that's our physical activity leaders. They run this day for our juniors, and that happens at the end of term 4. A big day for our little kids to join it. Yeah.
Through the Tarawera Youth Network, I connected with Phelan from Dannevirke High School, who does pastoral care there. So at the moment, I'm helping her do an application to do a similar program at Dannevirke High School. Year 10, for the Year 10 boys, they have been identified as needing something else. They are a little bit disengaged in school at the moment, so it's a way to bringing them back in there. So we'll have someone go in there on Wednesday, if our funding is approved, a Wednesday and a Friday. Sam's boxing on another hat that Sam's got is going to be taking that. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, very excited to get that approved by the principal for that to happen in that space.
Thank you, ladies. Do we have any other questions? Councillor Amboy.
Thank you, Chair Adela. Kia ora, good morning, ladies. Thank you for all the work that you guys do, especially to you, Raylene. I've done a little bit of work with you with the Tararoa Youth Network, and it's going to be sad to see you go, but I'm sure we'll still be seeing you around. But I guess there is a misconception that there isn't a lot to do in the district for youth, but from your organisation, it's clear that there is, and you guys create that space for youth. So my question is, for those that don't know about your work, especially outside of school, how do you get people involved and get people to know who you guys are and what you do, etc.? Thank you.
So a lot of it is promoted through Facebook, and we have Tarawera Sport have opened an Instagram page as well to try and connect with our rangatahi as well. To, you know, we found there's a gap there from those youth network meetings that they weren't being informed of what's on, and trying to get them to come along. Yeah.
Really great question. And one thing we are aware of is that not everybody's on social media, so I appreciate that as well. So we do take a multimedia approach in regards to different ways to communicate and how to do that. I guess because some of our work is very targeted, because we're aimed at those that particularly are not engaged in activity. So word of mouth and connections in regards to through schools or through youth themselves is very powerful, rather than necessarily a big media campaign that mainly hits those that are really active already, if that makes sense. So it's trying to take a different approach in regards to targeting those that are less active but maybe don't necessarily have those connections as well. So different approaches.
Do we have any other questions? Thank you, Sport Tararoa and Sport Manawatu coming today. I love reading your report because you come up with so many different ideas. Like every year there's something different to make people become active or to help people become active and engage in their community. So thank you for all the work that you do. So the recommendation is that the report from the Manager of Democracy Services dated the 6th of August 2026 concerning the Sport Tararoa 12-month report to June 26 be received. Moving a seconder, Councillor Kennedy and Councillor Amboy. Thank you. Always forget that. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. We have Leanne and Emma here from Eketahuna Health Centre. So we'll get you guys to come forward and we'll just get them set up, so just be a minute. Thank you and welcome, Leanne and Emma. You did really well. I just want to pass it over to Councillor Corlett.
Yep, thank you. I do have a conflict here slightly. I'm on the board of the Eketahuna Health Centre.
Thank you, Chris. There's no decisions made today, but we're just going to declare that conflict. Okay, and fire away, ladies.
Kia ora, and thank you, councillors, mayor, community, and everyone around us that's actually here today. Thank you for inviting us. I'm Leanne Tate, and this is Emma Elliott, our community coordinator. We both work for Te Whare Ora o Eketahuna Health Centre. Eketahuna Health Centre was the first health centre that was nurse-led in New Zealand, and it was started in 1988. It was actually established when our retiring GP, Dr. Pramila Iyengar, retired, and she said the nurses were perfectly capable of looking after their community with the help of local health authorities and local GPs. And also with the help of the council, who actually gifted that building for the use of the health centre over that period of time. Back in 1988, there were 1,900 people living in Eketahuna, and they all loved and utilised their health centre, and they had a 97% satisfaction rate with it. The health centre as it's set up was actually considered a pioneer in rural health medicine and the way to go forwards. And if you can just see with your eyesight, the very first paper that was ever put out from the health centre asked for things like a milk jug, a toaster, a few dinner plates and a cuddly teddy. I think our demands on the community are slightly more than that as we've advanced. So, and I'll just go to the next. That one there. Sorry, excuse us. That's it. Over the years, the committee, which is all led by community volunteers, of which at the moment our Chris sits on the board, and he's taken over in the last year or so to help us. They've actually all been volunteers that have actually given their time that the health centre can remain open. Them, along with lots of the nurses, have also sat on the board and actually just fought for the needs of the community. And many of you here over the years will know things about the health centre. Of the student nurses we've had through, one of our current staff members is Kendra Crafer, and and she sits alongside our other 3 nurses. We've been fully supported over the years by formerly Bush Medical Centre, now Pahiatua, and up until recently we had a visiting GP that initially came 2 days a week, which whittled down to 1, then half a day, and then in 2021, over the time of COVID, we lost our GP, which has been horrific for us. I'm just so apologise. I just usually can get this to move on, and I'm just... Yeah. There we go. Sorry? There we are. Thank you. Now, the mission statement back in 1888 was the health centre was to do things to promote a healthy community through affordable health service, community participation and education. We've advanced that model now because I come from a public health model, and we actually incorporated Mason Juris Te Whare Tapa Whā, which many of you from the health sector will actually understand that we all have our health, which is grounded in our roots from where we actually originate from the family and social well-being society that we live in, our mental and emotional health, our spiritual well-being and our physical health. And we actually need to look at health as a holistic whole, and to see ourselves as more than the sum of a physical ailment. And I think that's really, really important. And there we go. The census literally from 2023 said within Ekatahuna, as you can see, the male and female population there of total male, 830 and females, 790. And of those, we've now got 1,620 people living in that region. And this is the breakdown of their age ranges. And I think that's really interesting because as we look at those age ranges, we've actually got an influx of little young children coming through. And we're also losing our elderly population and having a flux on those middle years. And it's actually looking at ways that the health centre can accommodate those ages. And as you saw from Sports Manawatu, we need to find ways to actually engage our youth and things to go forwards. When we're actually thinking about those populations and those ethnicities, looking at ways in which we can help them, this graph roughly shows you of the people coming through the health centre, where they come from and their ethnicities. And if you can see, even though we have a smaller population in the area, we're seeing more people from the rural communities, and they're actually coming in and utilising the health centre. What is absolutely fascinating is back in 2016, you see the very first column there that says PMC, that's Pahiatua Medical Centre. That was how many people come to us from that GP. And the next chart next to it says other GPs. So that's people that would use other GPs in the area, in the surrounding areas. And if you look at this back to 2024, we're now doing over 2,000 consultations a year with people coming from other GPs, which is huge, and it actually puts such an impact on the community for actually how do we allow for service provision for that. This little graph just roughly shows in terms of the predominance of what we're actually seeing and doing. So those face-to-face can actually be a general everyday consultation to sorting out medicine to bits and pieces. The call-outs vary over times depending on whether we're helping with palliative care patients. The next one is related to cardiac and diabetes. And as you can see, very sadly, as you look at those graphs, those things have those upwards and downwards trend, but we really need to look at those health declines in terms of more cardiac and more diabetes. And that's where things like Sports Manawatu really links into our job and the role of Emma in terms of turning health around. And what I think is really, really sad is when you look at the stats there for mental health. And mental health breaks my heart in terms of the fact back in 2016, we were just probably seeing about 56 mental health consultations a year. We're now doing nearly 500. That's about a 750% increase, which is a real concern to us. When we're talking about here with the GPs coming from other areas and losing our GP from Pahiatua, that has actually been altered the way we practice, because sadly we've all actually had to go on to become nurse prescribers. Something I don't feel particularly comfortable about doing, but we need to do because of a trend treating acute medicine within our community. And I've known Sharon for a very long time, and she would tell you I'm probably come from a more public health promotion model rather than a prescribing model. And very sadly, that's where we've actually had to accommodate to serve the needs of our community. When we're actually thinking about that, we've actually really valued all of you guys and lots of local charities to help us to do those things, to fund my training, to fund the gadgetry you can see in the background. All over the time of COVID, we needed lots of organisations from charities to to iwi, just to actually help provide funding for the machinery and the equipment we needed over that time. We really have to thank Rural Support Trust for actually getting the initial money for our mental health, because with the divide of the counties between Tararua and the Wairarapa and all of that Manawatu district, we lost our funding for mental health back about 7 years ago, and we lost all funding for mental health counselling. So then we actually had to find some charity money until the government would actually help and the District Health Board to start funding. And so we are so grateful to Rural Support Trust because they gifted us some of their money so that we could carry on mental health services, which, as you can see with that 750% increase, we live in an area where the housing is slightly cheaper, so people come there without any social support whatsoever for the problems they're bringing with them. And that's so often in cases of mental health, it's actually been so. As I take you back to that model there, we're actually not just the sum of one little aspect of our health, it's that whole encompassing model of it. Yeah, just do the next one, sweet. There we just actually, when we think of that, we just actually need to think of that bigger picture. And Emma drew this picture here, and I love this picture because although in its simplicity, it really actually sums up our little whare at Ekatahuna, how it connects into so many other things, and there's so many other things that happen within that building, and all of the people we connect into. You know, from literally the Plunkett nurses from when the children are 6 weeks old of us starting the vaccinations to the end of life to palliative care, and that health through the ages, we try to be that little whare there. And when you see that lovely little edging on the front of the whare, that little section with the ramp going up and that shelter, I need to thank you as a council for that. That shelter, which you can probably think is like, what does that matter? That made the difference of some old people being able to come up the ramp, open the door without getting totally soaked as they got their wheelchairs in and themselves in. That little step there on that whare made such a difference to us. Over the years, when we're thinking about health through the ages, and lots of you may remember this, we actually set up the youth group back in Ekatahuna just because realising those youth had nowhere to go. And within that youth group, they actually, in our local PC, Donna Oliver, we actually got that area there set up for them, the skate park, that we actually got the walkways improved. There was some grant money to actually put some colour back into Ekatahuna and just to engage those youth. The other thing that we actually did was got those kids actually realising it's not shameful to say that you're hungry, to actually do something about it. We started off the street collections. We started off just sorting out how the kai was distributed. So instead of actually giving a tiny little food parcel, which we gave one evening's meal, we decided to give enough food for 4 days so that people within their family would actually be able to have some money to actually pay off a bill and actually have food going in. Children, don't learn if they're hungry, and we really realised that we wanted to take away the stigma and the shame. So we got the children actually just joining in with the food collections, with giving, and within that we decided, we actually needed a way that there would always be food around. So thank you to you at council again, we set up the community garden. So we decided that there would always be food of some form that people could actually go into the garden and actually help themselves to. And with the local school children, we planted some fruit trees, and we already had some Feijoa ones, and we just started those, and we got some water tanks set up there. And Yeah, and Emma can actually talk to this one because this is actually one of something that Emma does with such great passion.
Yes, so I'm employed as the community coordinator. You may have seen my face about when there was money sloshing around from the previous government in food secure communities. I actually was able to tap into some of that grant money and develop our garden further. So we have quite an abundance now that is used in food parcels. When people come in for CAI assistance, I'm actually able, especially in summer months, to take them into the garden and actually pick something fresh that then goes into that food parcel. We've contribute from the garden to our Christmas food parcels for our needy families, and over time it's just developed. We now have a monthly crop swap, and we set up a seed library in Ekadahuna Library, all part of that initiative using that sort of funding. That funding no longer exists, but the infrastructure is there and it's sort of run by volunteers. My role in the garden, I now need to go to other funders to fund just a few hours a week for myself to maintain that going. That's becoming increasingly more and more difficult, as we all know. How do I move that on? Another one of the initiatives which Leanne was involved in is the Men's Shed, set up in 2016, still in existence. Many of those original people now have sadly passed, but we do use Men's Shed on our site as a way to working with older men to have that social cohesion, that community spirit, and just a place to talk and to meet and sometimes to be fed.
We actually use that, the Men's Shed, as a centre for wellness, and when we see that Think Water in the background, this was actually Think Water who helped us to set this up, as well as the Wairarapa Men's Shed, because we had lots of respiratory patients, and we actually used to have a lovely respiratory nurse who came from Think Hauora to actually help to oversee the health of these gentlemen with us. And it's one of those things is, when you see that holistic model of health. Talk about the CAI cupboard.
So during that Food Secure Communities period, last government, we were able to tap into some Ministry of Social Development funding. We have a great relationship with a food rescue organisation down in Masterton. They now actually deliver to us. And here's just a list of all the sort of connections that I was able to make at that time when that role was funded. And again, it's now unfunded, but I'm maintaining those connections. I'm also a registered yoga teacher. I'm the person that uses the Bush Multisport for doing yoga in Pahiatua. I also run a chair yoga class for ladies it's not ladies, it's everybody in the community. That happens weekly. I have sat with the respiratory nurse to make sure that the way that I teach breathing, for example, is as it should be. And then on a monthly basis, we actually meet and have brunch together. Again, just an event to bring certain older people in that could be socially isolated, bring them together, share some CAI, and generally have a laugh.
Through that CAI, we share out with the church 4 times a year, and we have a meal for retired or disabled people in the community. So 4 times a year, and we try to bring in speakers on all different aspects of health and well-being to those meetings.
So this, I'm just going to quick take you through just some figures here. So I'm also the financial admin. Again, it's a role that actually is no longer funded by Te Whatu or by Health New Zealand. I have to go out and seek funding for my role in the current year, 2026. You haven't got those figures here because our financial year has only just finished and we're just tidying up but very happy to supply a performance report when that actually comes about. But this year, I actually got myself a little bit more qualified to be the financial administrator through some funding from the trust down in Masterton. But let me just show you, but let's look at the very bottom there, net profit. When I started working in financial administration, we were running at a loss. You can see a loss there of $11,000 in 2023, and then $15,000 in 24. Obviously, I had my work cut out for me, the policy was really with the board is like, let's engage those people that actually do fund us. You can see their top line, which still says DHB because that's what they were. So that's our contract for primary health from Health New Zealand. That lifts about 3% every year. Second line down is what we get on a claims base from Health New Zealand for giving out immunisations, but that just depends on who walks through the door. What's in jeopardy for this coming year is our Think Aurora contract. We're not too sure whether we've got it. It's worth $20,000. If that disappears, then we're basically not going to, it's going to be more and more difficult to fund our nurses. You can see how we've done some work to actually improve our ACC claims and patients' fees. So we have an annual review of patient fees, and we've really done some work in terms of making sure we get the most out of that. So we lifted that by $5,000 from 2024 to 25, and we have again this year. We're very reliant on donations from local churches, organisations and communities. See that in red there. It's to the tune of $26,000 last year. That's an ageing population in our churches. We don't know whether, we can't guarantee that money, but we're currently really reliant on it. You can see how our mental health funding has changed over time. So Leanne referenced getting some money from, or some help with money from Tararua Rural Support. That initially actually came from an MPI fund, see that $24,000. When that one was no longer available, we went to the DHB, went to Health New Zealand and said, you need to start funding us, which they did in part. The Eastern Central then came to the party to top that up. We've now actually, in this current year, through work with myself and the nurses, actually secured full funding of our mental health provision. So the figures due to come out very soon will reflect that. So you can see really that our incomes have lifted about 20k year on year. I'm forecasting that 2026 will be just shy of the $300,000 mark. Of that money, we spend $185,000 on funding nurses, my role as the financial admin, and a groundsman to keep your beautiful facilities looking tip-top. So we get an increase from DHB, about 3% year on year, but our wages are increasing 7% year on year. So we're really hard pushed to actually fill that gap. We've engaged with Health New Zealand. We've got as much out of them as they are currently willing to give. So we just come back to that sort of reliance on local funding from our churches, organisations and our community, and then going to national funders to fill that gap. What I have done is done some work to understand, so you'll see that utilities has actually dropped. We're very grateful to council. They've maintained our rent year on year just to be about $750 a quarter, which is absolutely fantastic. we can't afford an increase on that rental. But what we have done is I've reduced some of those utility costs. So we've had negotiations with Health New Zealand. They feel that the financial admin through my work and the oversight of a registered accountant is sufficient for figures. So we no longer have to have an audit, which used to cost us about $4,000 a year. Unfortunately, what has also, in trying to pull down those costs, those utilities, those service contracts, we've actually had to cut a little bit of nurses going to conference, nurses going on PD, because unless we get funding for it, we can't afford that work. You can see the bottom two lines there, external counsellors and the money that's spent on the community coordinator. That only exists because the funding exists. If the funding doesn't exist, then we have to pull back on those services. I'm really proud of the fact that in my time, we as a team, but also through just fiscal management, have come from a five-figure loss to nearly coming to be profitable. We're only a $700 deficit last year, and I'm forecasting this year to actually have some small surplus. So really, the message from me in financial admin is thank you for keeping our rent low. Please be aware of the precarious position that we sit in Eketahuna. I think the figures showing how much people are using our services, and those are people that are registered with Paihetoa Medical Centre, but an awful lot of people who are either don't have a GP because we don't have enough GPs in this country, or they're coming out of town and they've had to stay with their GP from whence they've come because they can't register with a new one. Those people are really reliant on our services. And we really need to maintain. We want to get to that 40-year anniversary and beyond, and continue to maintain our health services in Eketahuna.
And for that reason, to help us over the next 2 years, we've actually got a nurse practitioner from the Wairarapa. Purely because we can't get one in this area, not because we don't want one from this area. Paihetoa Medical Centre, as you all know, is overstretched. We've got up to a 3-month waiting time at the moment. So we've seconded a nurse from the Wairarapa to show us what a nurse practitioner looks like. So it's 1 day a week. She's coming in, and all we do is actually pay for her travel and her PD hours that she gives us, and for her to come to us. All of the rest of the money that she makes goes back to the Wairarapa, not to our health centre. We had to do that pilot to say, what does a nurse practitioner look like? Because we could not recruit one locally because we had no money to, and we just actually, and there were not enough nurse practitioners to spread out. And that was really the hardest thing, to actually make that call on our planning and our 5-year forecast.
Yes, and we should say that's a part of a sort of strategic project. We have a strong strategic team that has enabled us to pass with flying colours an audit in 2025 by Health New Zealand. So we are compliant, fully compliant, in fact offering an exceptional service in terms of service provision, immunisations and mental health. That was what the audit said. And we, although there was work to do as a result of that audit to get ourselves up to the governance level that they were looking, that work is now done. So we're there, poised with this fantastic strategic plan. We just need to make sure that we've got the funds to put it into action. And the first strategic project that we've undertaken is this nurse practitioner a trial, and we really hope that's successful so that we can continue to develop our provision in Eketahuna. Where's my
That's it. And when we're thinking of how you've actually probably looked at the health centre as you've come through over the years, it's grown, it's multiplied, it's changed. And thank you very much for allowing us to utilise that space for the men's shed, for the community garden, for all of the different functions that have actually gone on from there and that we've actually lived by our mission statement. So we thank you for that, guys. You know, so here we are. We're here in 2026 where, God willing, we'll actually make it to a 40-year anniversary. So thank you all for giving us this time. Okay. There.
Thank you, ladies. It's great to hear the great stuff that you guys are doing, and it's not just a health centre. You look at the whole community and what you do out there in Eketahuna, and they're very lucky to have you. Thank you for your work. Mayor Scott.
Thanks very much, Chair Erina. Leanne and Emma, thank you for everything you do for the community and to all the volunteers that are in behind you, supporting you. I think what some people don't realise is not only the impact you have on the community of Eketahuna, it's also if you weren't there, the flow-on impacts that would have on already stretched health services in Pahiatua and in other places. And so it is providing a very, very important local benefit, but that benefit goes further as well. The holistic approach that you have is really important. I've been very privileged to help plant a few fruit trees under Emma's expert guidance. But I just wanted to acknowledge at this table just how grateful we are for what you do for our community members, even though we're not directly involved in the provision of healthcare. Being able to support in a small way through that facility is vital. But we're very grateful, so thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Amboy.
Thank you, ladies, for your time today and sharing your story. For somebody like me who is local to Dennyville, it's really interesting to know more about what you guys are doing over on the other side. And I just want to tautoko what my colleagues have already said, because what you're doing is really important in the district. And you guys have become so much more than just a health centre and wear many hats. But I guess I'm just curious to know if there is an opportunity to work with and collaborate with other groups doing similar things as yourself across the district. I know there's a few community gardens in Dannyburg, etc. And so I'm just wondering if you guys can learn from each other or help each other out in some way, or if that's already happening.
Yeah.
When my role was funded under the Food Secure Communities project, I actually gave Dannyville Community Garden my advice. They came to me, because I'm involved not only with the Eketahuna Community Garden, but also the Pahiatua Community Garden, and I gave them some advice on how to help set up. So we were at that time, we were very much working alongside each other as a group. I work with 2 food banks. I'm on the board at Pahiatua Helping Hands, so I work for Pahiatua Food Bank also. And, during COVID times, I was working with Rangitani and Ngāti Kahanunu to make sure that food was being shared out across the whole of the Tararua. So that exists. But when it becomes unfunded, it's very difficult to then maintain it because everybody needs to earn $1 to keep their own households going. So unfortunately, it's waned because there ain't no more funding.
It does exist in the health model still, and we do rely on the iwi for some of our outreach vaccination programs, and so that's just lovely with Rangitani and Kahinunu. And we just wanted to say is with Pahiatua Medical Centre, we liaise lots, and also with your new GP clinic, which you were just actually had your last meeting about the 24-hour shared care programme. We liaise with that quite a lot, and so patients that actually are beyond our scope of service, we actually send out. So, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Councillor Corlett.
Yeah, thank you, Erina. Leanne and Emma, thank you for coming along. Having been involved with the health centre and understanding what you guys do, it doesn't really, no one really knows how much more you guys put into everything. So thank you to everything that you do, and the whole team. All the girls do great in there, and it's always interested me to hear the number of households that we have in our town. I think it's about 280 something households or something like that, and how many packages go out over Christmas, and how many do we have over the Christmas period, and then generally
The average year up to 50 food parcels. Yeah, just going out, isn't it? Just over that.
Yeah.
That period. It's
Which
just-
actually, having been involved I am involved with Paihia, we've got 50 quite large food parcels going out, and Paihia, which is a town which is,
Three times as
4 times as big, only has about, 75, so, we're, per capita, we look after our people well.
yeah, and I think it's something that is really appreciated. People do, need that and do, so, appreciate getting those. So, yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Councillor Kennedy.
Hi, Leanne. You probably know me, I'm a district nurse. I just really admire that with your Tū Whare tapu whā, how you're actually really living and breathing it. Like with the community garden right next door, you're really doing the whole 4 walls. Having worked in health for 15 years, a lot of it is at times just
Lip service.
well, it's just the physical that takes precedent over everything else, and we're not really living that the way you guys are. And that's really awesome. And just on top of the fact that you have to then think about the funding. So as a nurse working in a public system, we don't have to have that weighing us down as much because it's all sorted out for us. Mm-hmm. And the fact that you've got to do that as well and still do the incredible care that you do is really admirable. And I do admire you.
Kia ora. Thank you, Kira. Yeah, we are so blessed to just work with such lovely nurses, and I think that's lovely because as time goes by, I'm starting to step down, as Sharon will tell you, from going full time, and I'm just cutting down and just doing other jobs now. But we are just so blessed that the community loves the health centre and is looking out for it, and that we just have so many people that give up their time for it. Because as you just say, it's every day begging for money to keep it open, which just feels crazy because the money we must be saving on the health dollar is just incredible. It just, especially working from a wellness model, being proactive rather than reactive. And we just really just got to really look at this for all of health, don't we? Yeah.
Thank you, Leanne and Emma. It was a great presentation today. Thanks for coming all the way up from Eketahuna, and keep up the great work. Okay, next we have Jerron from Mayor's Task Force for Jobs. If you'd like to come up, Jerron, we'll do your presentation, then we'll take a little break.
Excellent, thank you Chair, and thank you committee for having me. I'll take the report as being read, and we'll just go through a quick overview of the last quarter of the financial year, and probably an overview of what happened during the year as well. So quarter four was a quiet quarter for MSD referrals, as you may have seen. It was just 4 new referrals compared with the significant increase we saw in quarter three. We achieved one further MSD placement. That's a beneficiary that was placed into work, and 3 non-MSD placements. And the focus during the quarter was increasingly on working with existing candidates from quarter three and addressing their barriers to employment and using training and licensing to improve their readiness for work. Across the full year, it was a year of significant change for the Mayor's Taskforce for Jobs program, with a new MSD-focused contract and some considerable disruption to our referral pathways. We had 3 different MSD coordinators in a 3-month period, and quarter two saw no MSD referrals at all. And this made the original contracted target of 27 placements of beneficiaries particularly difficult to achieve. Towards the end of the third quarter, the annual target was reduced from 27 to 14, with a commensurate reduction in tranche 2 funding. And we finished the year with 11 MSD placements alongside 26 non-contract placements. The wider demand for employment support has remained strong. We've had over the year, I think it was around 38 self-referrals who are not beneficiaries. So that need is still there, and that support may not be for those people. And we've significantly invested in the licensing and industry training. I say overall the programs continue to reduce barriers to employment. We've supported local employers and connecting them with other funding and supporting their young workers as well with pastoral support. And really we've only been able to try and build their workforce capability despite the challenges created by the contract settings and the referral environment, as well as the economic environment as well, with less jobs available, entry-level jobs for the people that I'm working with, and a lot more competition for those jobs. Very brief overview, but...
Mayor Scott.
Thanks very much, Chair. And I just wanted to probably add a tiny bit of direct context that would be more difficult for Jaron to add, where I can potentially be a little bit more direct. Firstly, I want to thank Jaron for all of the significant work that he does and the passion he has for the young members of our community. It certainly has not been without bureaucratic challenge, would be fair to say, within this period. There was a significant, as was mentioned, a significant contract change, which has refocused somewhat the service into some of the harder to place young people, where we still do have an incredibly large gap with the needs within our community, so in that category, which is really where this program had its strength. And I'm still optimistic we have an opportunity to work in that space, but we need to reframe some of the other work that we're doing. This has been further complicated within the last short while with the contract not being approved and not being ready. So we're currently operating outside of contract that will be coming in, but it does add to some of the challenges Mayor's Taskforce coordinators have, and certainly mayors within the system. I've been following that up. There are definitely some challenges in the numbers, so I want to acknowledge that. But I also want to clearly state that those challenges are not through the making of our coordinator. So I want to thank you for the work you're doing. And I'm very, very optimistic about what we will be able to achieve within the program, particularly when the new contract comes in. But I thought it worthwhile to add some of the context along with some of my significant disappointment at how things have changed. So thanks.
Councillor Wards.
Thanks, Chair Erina. I completely concur with Mayor Scott. Jaron, I mean, you're up against it. There's no there's no arguing with that. And it is, Mayor Scott says, it's certainly not without. We certainly can't reflect on you not wanting to get out there and help. I do have a question regarding 4.7 in your report, Jaron, which was around the pastoral care. You've mentioned that there's quite a significant component of that required. Can you tell me what that looks like? And are you able to draw on other agencies, or is this a one-man band that's trying to make things smoother for these clients out there?
Yeah, thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Councillor Wards. Yeah, so the pastoral support, it's really whatever a person needs to be able to stay in a job, whether that's advocacy with their employer, maybe it's some tools that they need if they're a fledgling apprentice. It can vary with the people that I'm working with at the moment. So the 11th person, for instance, that we've placed, they stayed in the job for a week. And there's only so much you can do. I felt he was ready to work, but you can't see everything or do much about that. But then you just take that as you take it on the chin, and you make sure it doesn't turn into a negative spiral and try and rebound from there. Yeah, so pastoral support is very individual. The contract itself, apart from making the placements, the contract has changed from last year, where a sustained employment placement was 3 months. It's now 6 months. So, and there are conditions within the contract where a lot of the funding is we have to try and, I think it's around 80% of people that we place are supposed to stay in their roles for 6 months. The people that we're dealing with, and even if it wasn't beneficiaries, just young people in general, and the way contracts are set, a lot of people are in casual work because employers can hire, under casual contracts. A lot of the details around the contract I don't think are reasonable, but it's about my pay grade. So in terms of the pastoral support that I offer people, it's a lot different to try and keep someone in work for 3 months than 6 months. And we only have within our new contract 12 weeks to work with them as well. As it used to be, whatever you need going forward, there are people I've been working with since Tararua Reap who have come out of school, and over the first, over these 5 years, I've seen them again and again between the ages of 16 and 24. So, yeah, the last 12 months has helped me develop a lot of patience. Fast approaching sainthood, I think. But, you do what you can with what you've got. Yeah, it's really individual. What was the second part of your question, sorry, about that? Oh, integrating with people? Yeah. So it was, when I first came into the role, I was working within schools, helping, from education to employment. I would coordinate with other youth groups or iwi, everyone that was doing the same sort of work. That doesn't happen anymore, just as we've heard from the Ikirahuna Health Centre. If the funding's not there, you're kind of pitted against each other, in essence. And because of the contract and the way that it's set up, because I'm only supposed to be dealing with beneficiaries, I can't deal with someone that is working with another group. They just won't refer them to me. And so, and then these are people that I've known for years and years as well. So I have to go to MSD and say, can I work with this person? You can't work with them because they're working with such and such. Well, they don't tell you, but they're working with someone else on another program. So yeah, you're sort of handcuffed a little bit. I still help them. It's just not in the books. If someone needs a CV, you're going to give them a CV. It's, if they need a bit of a chat for some advice, you give them advice. But a lot of the work is not counted, I would say.
It's through you, Chair, and can I actually ask you then, Mayor Scott, what is the long-term discussions that's happening in the Mayor's Task Force Forum? Obviously, the goalpost has changed 3 to 6 months. That's a huge change. And when you think about some of the employment contracts being set up for 90 days, you're on a hiding to nothing, aren't you, for some of those? So what would be the sense that going forward that the Task Force Forum thinks should happen, Mayor Scott?
No, thanks then, through you, Chair. And, there's clearly been a lot of discussions at mayoral level. I haven't seen the most recent contract that will be coming through, although I don't believe it will be materially different. I think they've signalled where that would be. There is a bit of an opportunity that I was talking about before. It's about reframing and looking at getting the numbers that are expected through the contract with enough flexibility then to be working with the cohort that we traditionally supported. And that was, I personally think that's possible, but it's reliant on us getting the steady flow of referrals, and that's been the challenge that we had in the last year. That was sort of one of my first priorities, was to intervene in that space and make sure that referrals were coming through. They hadn't been for a very, very long time, and unfortunately that hadn't been perhaps pushed as hard as it needed to be, but we've got that bit for now resolved. So that's the first bit of work. If we can get that going, we can get the numbers, then we can be working with the gap that's in our community. And we have to remember that that's why Mayor's Task Force for Jobs exists. There's other providers that work in the space that we've been asked to help and step into, and Mayor's Task Force for Jobs has been asked to step into that space because it's a very good program. But we can't forget about the whole purpose of it being created. So there are huge numbers of discussions. I think eventually, if this didn't change over a long period of time, we would have to give some more thought to it. The issue is Mayor's Task Force for Jobs was originally created without that funding, the MSD contract. So the kaupapa of the program still exists. It's now just become quite dependent on contract. So there is some discussions about, do we need to start looking at other funding sources and not just rely on the delivery of one contract to be able to focus on the gap that we have. So lots of discussions, but I genuinely do still see real opportunity within the program because it serves a really important need. We just need to make sure we find the space to be able to serve that need while we navigate the bureaucracy. But Jaren's doing a great job.
Councillor Amboy.
Thank you, Chair Irina. Thank you, Jaren, for all the work that you do. It's a tough environment out there. But I'm just curious, has there been any collaboration between MSD regional public service coordinators across the region? And if making those connections improve this program, I guess just for context, Councillor Kashan and I met with Jiltopia from MSD. She's a regional coordinator that is based in Palmy, and she and her team are very supportive. So just wondering if you guys make that connection, it could be actually worthwhile. Thanks.
Do you mean us working with them or them working with each other? Either or. Yeah. So the regional coordinator is a bit above where my contact would lie. So I think below them you've got your There is another regional coordinator who does a lot of the doling out of the referrals, and then they work with the manager of the centre and the case management team. We're lucky here. I've been working with this group for a long time, so I know them, most of them pretty well. But yeah, it's I don't know how much collaboration. Trying to see how I can say this politically correct. The last two coordinators, I've worked with really well. They've come in, obviously Q3 was like, is going to be do or die as we hadn't had any referrals coming through. So Q3 was good in terms of referrals. That coordinator left, and then there's, of course, there's a lag before the next person come in. You know, I get along with all of these people really well. It's more about the system and how it's set up. There's a conflict of interest between them making their own placements and giving them to us. In terms of the contract, I can't do anything to improve our numbers. Yeah, in terms of collaboration, I do what I can with the people at my level. The rest of it's above me. Yeah.
Mayor Scott.
No, thanks very much, Chair Erina, and definitely support that. And there is collaboration, you know, even between myself and at regional commissioner level, and we've had some meetings with the regional commissioner's staff to be discussing it. And I think the thing that we just need to be mindful of with this program is the numbers that are reported don't necessarily reflect the outcomes achieved. And so there's only certain numbers, and it's quite interesting. We have, you know, Jaron and I catch up regularly, and we talk about outcomes, and then it's often, yeah, but that doesn't count to numbers. Transparently, I want us to hit what our numbers are, but that is of much less importance to me than the overall outcomes and working in with that gap. So, yep, we've got to tick the box because there's a contract, and if we have a contract and if we sign a contract, we should be working to deliver that contract, and then what else can we do? And that's sort of the philosophy that we want to be taking that in. So we tick that box, but then we focus on where the real need is in our community. So hopefully that helps a little.
Thank you, Mayor Scott, and thank you, Jaron, for bringing to our attention all the challenges that you have at the moment. So I hope things start to get better for you. So we've got a recommendation that the report from the Mayor's Task Force for Jobs Coordinator dated the 25th of May 26 concerning Mayor's Task Force for Jobs Management Report be received. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Mayor Scott, and then Councillor Collette. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. We'll take a 10-minute break. Thank you. Welcome, Carsten. We've got Carsten he's going to deliver the Communications Management Report. Over to you.
Tēnā koe, Whaia Chair Erina, tēnā koutou katoa. Just before we crack into things, a few things I'd like to highlight. So within this reporting period, our main focus has been engagements. We've had the amalgamation, of course, we've had the budget challenge, we've had land rationalisation, and we've had the community voice survey. So strong focus on that within this period. We're now in the throes of developing concepts for the next round of the pre-engagement with a focus on library survey and economic development. So there's going to be some more on that later this afternoon in the workshop. What is not in this report is that we're also developing a tool for the Plan A change consultation, which is coming up. So that's not on this report. My apologies for that. It was an oversight. Okay. The budget challenge, it's the gift that keeps on giving. So with a lot of councils, in total about 11 now, have reached out to us from the far north to the deep south to ask, how we've done it, to ask for our lessons learnt and our experiences on this. One in particular resembles ours very closely, but Scott and I are working on that. So, yeah, it's interesting. Anyway, so, what we've seen in this reporting period is a lot more media inquiries. Yes, there's a lot going on, but there's really a sharp spike in those. We've had about 38 in this reporting period, which is much more than we usually have. The other thing which I thought I'd highlight is the media mentions that we have. So we've got a lot of media mentions, about 252 so far this year. So that is way more than we had over the whole year, actually, last year. So last year we had about 180 or something, 170. Yes, this is a sign of the times that we're living in, but I'd also like to attribute to this a little bit to the positive media relations that we are working on. So we're really proactive in that space, and we're working on those relationships with reporters, and I'd like to attribute a little bit of that to this as well, and especially the fact that a lot of the media mentions that we're having are getting far more positive. So we do a subjective categorization of negative, positive, and neutral media mentions, and the amount of neutral media mentions is skyrocketing, so which I think is a really good thing, and the negative articles are on a decline. There's more on that in the report that you've just seen. So I think, just like with our social media, in terms of media, we're turning a corner as well. So quite happy with that result. Other than that, I'd like to take this report as read, and I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you, Carsten. Ms. Scott.
Thanks very much, Chair Erina, and to yourself and your team. Firstly, thank you for the support that you provide me, and apologies for the escalation in media inquiries. As Councillor Collett just leaned over and said, that's partially your fault. So, so I appreciate that. I just want to commend the team for the innovation that's happening within the team, and just the different feel in the community. I hear a lot that community members feel that their questions are answered quickly, when I have looked, probably in my early days of sitting around this table, our council Facebook page sometimes was a pretty unpleasant place to be. And I certainly had that feedback from members of the public that didn't really go onto our Facebook because it was at times quite toxic. The balance that we now have of people being able to freely express their views, but having the counterfactual given to them or context provided to their challenge is really important. The budget challenge was a huge success and showed what our team internally is capable of doing. You alluded to it before, Carsten, but imitation is often the sincerest form of flattery. And in one case, it would be fair to say it is imitation. I'm disappointed for your team that you didn't get the acknowledgement that you deserved from that, but that certainly has been expressed through to that council. In saying that, I just want to encourage you to keep on coming up with these new innovative ideas to bring our community along with what is going to be a really challenging time in local government. So having that ability for people to be able to connect with us is going to be vital for our community to feel like they are a part of the discussions and the decisions that we're going to have to make. And they've been tough so far in this term. They will get tougher. We have a lot on our agenda. So thank you for the support that you're providing, not just to us, but most importantly to our community.
Any other questions? I've got a couple. Yeah, great to see that we're the leaders this time instead of the fast followers with the budget challenge. So congratulations to you and your team. It's great to be at the top. And just a couple of other comments I wanted to make. I love the humour that's coming through on the Facebook page, and it's really people out in the community are liking it as well, and that's attracting them to watch the reels, especially because I know myself, you don't have much time, so if you want to go onto Facebook, the reels are the easiest thing to quickly watch and see what's going on in our meetings and all those bits and pieces. For 4.5.1, you've got the team is exploring the replacement of the current website platform. Could you just give us a bit more information about that? Is it combining the websites, or is it just what's involved in that one? Thanks.
So we're paying a lot of money for our current website platform, and we feel that's not quite justified for what it is giving us. We have proactively looked around for other solutions which are there, some open source solutions which are much cheaper, and we believe that they provide the same functionalities. So we've been doing a lot of due diligence in that space, and we're almost at a point that we're ready to make a decision on this to move over to a new website platform. So the main work will entail transferring that over to an open source platform, and then the idea is that as that happens, that we learn how to do that and we create the other sub-sites that we have, notably for the library and for tararua.com.
That's great to hear. Great news.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Carsten. Just something to note that we are sharing the website platform with MDC, Manawatu District Council. So although we are paying quite a bit, that price is divided between the two councils. And both councils have decided to move away from the current platform and to look at better solutions. So the team are working very closely with MDC to work out a solution that's going to be beneficial for us and for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Corlett,
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the information. Just another question on the website. Are we locally hosting it now, and are we looking at moving it to a cloud-hosted system, or are we still looking at housing it, or are we going to a provider for that service?
It will be a cloud-based system. Yeah.
Thank you. And just one more comment I had, that the website is really increased, and as well as the Facebook and people viewing it. So that's great to see that it's becoming more user friendly and people are going in to find out what they need to know. And I guess it'll involve as we bring in more into that website with forms and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a really good observation, and I've got to give credit to the team here, because there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes with the website, especially with the changes in AI which are happening. So we are really proactively trying to make our content suitable for AI, so that when people search for things on AI, they find the right information. We're constantly reviewing our areas on our website. We have around 1,500 pages on it, so it's a big job to keep on top of. But yeah, so we are really on top of that. There is still a lot of work to be done, but it's something that's routinely being done every week by the team.
Councillor Corlett.
Thank you, Chair. One of the maybe comment, when things are posted or put up on Facebook, sometimes it's missed by people. They don't get the follow, or it doesn't pop up in their feeds due to algorithms and everything else that we can't control. If it's possible to get the posts put on the local community pages, I think we've got about 11 primary community pages through the district, put on there directly, so share it with them as a group. That way more people will probably see the posts than just if it's shared through the council Facebook page. Just a consideration there maybe.
Yeah, thank you. The way we do it currently, because we also have to be very careful to set a precedent, what we share on community pages and what we don't, but if it's a health and safety issue, if it's a civil defence issue, then 100% we'll do that.
Any other questions? Thank you, Carsten. The recommendation is that the report from the Communications Team Manager dated the 19th of May 26 concerning the Communications Management Report be received. We have a mover and a seconder. Councillor Kennedy and seconded by Councillor Corlett. All those in favour please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. Kia ora and welcome, Fontaine, our Facilities Manager.
Kia ora koutou. Thank you for this opportunity. I'd just like to share a quick update with regards to some follow-ups in the report, mainly to do with the Mingaroa Cemetery and the subsidence work that's been happening down there. We were hoping to have that work completed by now. Unfortunately, we are a little way behind. We still have 30 more plots to remedy there. The hold-up generally is in regards to capacity and the weather, so we're trying to be very careful about the area there at the moment and having a machine on there. So we still, so we're just, when it's safe to do so, we'll continue on with that work. So currently we have 30 plots to remedy. Just a note in regards to the Old Gorge Cemetery, stating repairs to the driveway. I just want to reiterate that was just a section of that driveway, not the entire driveway. because I'm going to come back later on about that. We have the new cemetery signs that need to go up. We're a little bit behind in the install on that, so that's going to push out towards the end of August, September. But we have those definitely scheduled to go up there, so they're looking pretty good. We've got additional smaller signage. All the main ones at the front gates will be replaced. We have 2 that are going in at both at Mangaroa Cemetery and the Mangatanaka Cemetery there, plus additional smaller signs scattered around those bigger cemeteries, just to reaffirm the bylaws and the rules for looking after our cemeteries and interments and stuff like that, to help with that operation there. I just wanted to share also with regards to I was away, but I know there was some comments that were made around playgrounds and playground equipments, and whether they should be the performance of them should be 100% compliance. In my proposal for that, I mean that will come back anyway, but I just wanted to share with the committee that council's objective is not to create risk-free playgrounds, but to provide or create a safe, challenging and engaging play environment. What applies there is a risk-benefit factor or an assessment that you apply. And so you weigh up what the likelihood or severity of a potential injury is, and whether you would close that facility down. So previous questions from elected members were around whether they should be closed, and you'll note that they aren't, and that's because we apply that risk-benefit factor there. Yeah, okay. What was the other one? Sorry. I think that was my update, so I'll take the report as read. And any questions?
Councillor Wards. Thanks, Fontaine. I'm curious to have you step me through. On page 84, you've got the title of BWOF compliance, and you've provided a little bit of an update of what's happening with community committee representatives and obviously the required compliance that is expected. Can you tell me which communities those, because there are at least 2 community halls I'm aware of where there has been some concern expressed and help has been offered, I think, to assist those communities with getting their facilities compliant. So which committees have been covered off, if you wouldn't mind?
Thank you for that question, but through you, Chair. The community group that we are currently working with is Alfredton. Their community hall. So what we want to do in that, though, is build that understanding with where we sit, where council's responsibilities are. So under the Building Act, where council has permitted for a community facility to be established on council-owned land or parks or reserves, council can't delegate its responsibilities there under the Building Act. So we're still responsible and liable for meeting the building WOFs. They generally get charged to the facilities team, and facilities will on-charge them to the actual building owners. But in that, there needs to be a better management process on how that works, just to assist with those community groups to understand what their responsibilities are as well. So we want to provide that guidance there to ensure that we're not being fined for it, and we're not having to pass those on. And it's just a good education piece for those that are actually active and looking after those buildings. It's just from my understanding, it was more about they didn't know, they didn't understand. So, and working with the building team to get those compliance through on their own, they sort of didn't know how that fitted with the facilities team and the regulatory or the compliance and building team. So we're working on a process there to make sure that all of our buildings, our community groups that are permitted to have buildings on council land, that we have a good process in place to support that and ensure that it's happening and in a timely manner.
Thanks, Irina. So is that, dare I say it, Karsten, he's still in the room. Is that process, once you've outlined exactly what's needed, is that something that's going to be promoted to our community? I'm thinking of, there's at least 2 halls, one of which has got it sorted, but one, I've suggested they talk to someone in council about the process, and it's not Alfreton. So that's why I'm curious to understand how wide is the awareness that this is something that we can actually help them with.
Sorry. So what we've looked at is which of these community buildings actually that sit on council land are actually owned either by council or they're owned by a community group. And in gathering that information, there's a bit of digging that needs to happen to make sure that we're correct in that. And so with the changes in officers and the changes in committee members too, some of that knowledge has been lost. Yeah, so we're trying to build that database so that we can put that in our process, and that the officers, regardless of who's sitting within the asset management space, that information is there. And so it's a better way of supporting those community groups moving forward. Does that help?
So what you're saying through you, Chair, is upon request or questions being asked, you're able to... No?
I'll just respond to that. Sorry. What we've done is when we've been receiving through working with our building team to understand which warrant of fitness are being charged to us, and we'll have a look and go, is that council or is that a community group? And we're being able to capture some of that then too. So when we get that, and not only that time, but definitely that is a trigger, it makes us go and do a little bit more homework and then help that community group, yeah. So unless they come forward on their own, happy to do that too, but that is one way that we've been able to try and gather that.
Miss Scott.
Thanks very much, Chair Erina. I have 2 quick ones. On page 88, it talks about the robot mower, which looked really exciting. Could you give a little bit more information on that? I think this sort of innovation is really cool, so I'm keen to understand how it's working in practice.
The robotic mower was one of Green by Nature's initiative in helping to identify areas within the contract where efficiencies could be had. That was one of the proposals that they put in for cemeteries. We identified a couple of cemeteries where that would be ideal. And it is tracking really, really well. Yeah.
Excellent. Really keen for us to be kept abreast of that, because it's a technology perhaps that could go further and even to areas outside directly of facilities. So that's really cool. The second one through you, Chair Erina, page 95. I was looking at, it struck me the campground occupancy per site. In particular, the stats for Eketahuna look like they completely just dropped right off. Is that real, or is that a data issue?
Unfortunately, it is a data issue. So we've been finding this throughout the reports too, which is where I don't have a lot of confidence in it. And it's one of the reasons why we wanted to implement a new booking system that will support that. So in the report, you'll be happy to see that we are implementing Bookable after talking about it for a number of months. So I'm pretty excited about that. That system there should help to fine-tune and iron out all of these discrepancies that occur. So the expectation is that our campground operators will be upskilled and that will be well supported through the facilities team. to utilise that system and make sure that all of our bookings are in there. It'll help to identify any compliance issues that potentially could occur as well, and also help to promote the facilities that we currently have available for booking as well as equipment. So we've got digital equipment and the digital trailer and the play trailer as well. So, yeah.
Councillor Wallace.
Yeah, thank you, Chairperson. Yeah, have we got a dateline on that? Because I honestly thought that was further along the track.
Dateline on Bookable?
Correct, yeah.
Our implementation process is about 20 weeks. Where is she? Is 20 weeks. The implementation is heavily reliant on a number of officers throughout the organisation, so not just the facilities team, but customer engagement, finance, and our IT team as well. So there is quite a strict schedule that we have that we're hoping that we can meet as well, that all of those officers that need to be involved in that make themselves available. We also are aware that in doing that, and processing or working through the implementation of that council has other pending priorities that may push that project out, such as the LTP work and engagements.
Supplementary, yeah. So really you're saying nothing till next year?
For the beginning of next year, for it to be live, available to the general public.
Councillor Corlett.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just a few comments around the Ikaterina Works. The break-in at the community centre, obviously, it's cost a fair amount. I know that the local police were trying to get a cost to that to then on charge to the people who've done that, so hopefully that has been done. Also, comments around the bushwalk, the cliff walk, and the seating. Seeing all that upgraded and stuff, it looks really good. And all the work that's been done on all the doors and entryways and windows and stuff around the community hall. So there's been a lot of, I think, quite large pieces of work that have been done there, and I think it's looking a lot better in that area. I think with the only exception that we've got the foyer is still yet to be finished off for painting. We saw that when we went to the first of the amalgamation town halls, that there was a lot of missing spots there, and the guttering was missing from there. So, yeah.
Thank you for your comments there, Councillor Corlett. I'd just like to share with you that there is still a bit of work to be done at the front entrance there. The canopy work needs a bit of rework on there. We want to be able to make sure that those doors, so there's been a change to the design of the doors as well, just so that it doesn't allow water to ingress. But until we get the facility watertight, we want to be able to then go through and then do our external painting. There is a number of programmed works or planned works that we want to do internally as well. A brief discussion was had just ad hoc, actually, while I was on site regarding what to do with the internal walls inside the stadium itself. Throughout, there is a number of things that need to happen, but they are definitely on the planning list for it to be done. Yep.
Councillor Amboy.
Thanks, Chair Irina. Kia ora Fontaine, thank you for this report. Just going back to page 82 on the Mangatara cemetery plot collapses. Thank you for the quick response in getting that remedial work done despite the weather. But I'm just wondering if there's an update on any contact with the families of the deceased that have been impacted by the collapses at the cemetery. Thanks.
Sorry about that. No, I don't have an update. We haven't had any inquiry since writing that report, and I missed checking that before coming this morning. Sorry. So, but I can check that for you if you like.
Thank you, Fontaine, for keeping us up to date. And it's great to see some projects and everything's looking really lovely at the moment. And the updates on the 17A review, they were good to see that some progress has been made in that area as well. So their recommendation is that the report from the Facilities Manager dated the 19th of May 26 concerning Facilities Management Report be received. Can we have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Amboy and Mayor Scott, second. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Welcome, Dana, our Customer Engagements Manager. It's all over to you.
Marina, thank you. So I'll take the report as read. I'll just highlight a couple of things. So you will see that we had quite an increase in calls over the period. So that was from the 1st of July 2025 to the 30th of June 2026. So 11% increase. What I'd like to highlight is we have all customer engagement representative roles filled now, which is really, really exciting, including 4 casuals on board. So I think we're in a really good position as we move forward. The new representatives for Eketahuna and Woodville are in their first and second week of training. So to complete the training is probably another 2 to 3 weeks, but the Eketahuna rep will start on site the week after next in support with Kimberly, so she'll be on site as well to help. The other thing I'd like to highlight is that I'm doing a review of visitor information data and how we look at reporting that moving forward. Previously, we've just reported on a number of inquiries, walk-ins, phone calls, but we haven't actually had any data around what are they coming in for, like buying bus tickets, accommodation bookings, facilities around the community. So I'm thinking about meeting with all of the visitor information managers to look at how that reporting could look like. Would like any feedback on that or anything else that you would like to see as part of that. And I think that was about all, but happy to answer any questions.
Councillor Corlett.
Thank you, Chair Erina. Yeah, it's a good report, so there's a lot of information there. I know we've brought up the abandoned calls in the past, but as we've been running call centres before, it is a critical point to look at. The reporting only shows up to 20 seconds, I think, is what the primary reporting shows. I don't know if that needs to be changed, how it shows more clearly all the different, in there it shows the different calls, but I think the stages of calling, how much longer they have to wait, so it goes 20 seconds or beyond. And then the other one is, I know that there's more staff coming in, so hopefully we'll see a downward trend on that. So if we can get some more clean later, more information as it comes through, that we've had a bit of a change there. And then the only other part is in page 106, 5.4, comments made about a telecommunication rollout for a new project for telephony. Understanding that the telephones is a critical point towards other systems, and if you integrate with your ERP, your CRMs and everything, when a call comes in, it should create a ticket to create something, an outcome. Is there work with the team to integrate that with either APIs, or is it directly involved with the ERP solution that's being looked at as well, and possibly tying in with the booking system, because by adding more systems adds more complexity. If we can centralise a lot of it, if their capabilities are within them, we should look at how we integrate if the APIs are compatible and other things like that. So, yeah.
I just need to recall all the different components. So if I miss something, please let me know and I can come back to it. But yes, definitely my intent is now that we're got all staff on board and once training has been completed, that I hope that my next report will be able to see a little bit of a downturn in terms of abandoned calls, and I can certainly have a look at that breakdown a little bit more to see what I can provide as well. With regards to the new phone system, we're still in the early stages. We've signed the agreement and we start implementation and workshops, I think, within the next couple of weeks, I think it is. So I can certainly talk to them about APIs and how they can be linked in. We definitely have not talked to Bookable about what functionality they could have with this new phone system at this stage, but that doesn't mean that we can't. So the phone system is one of the components, which is what's pushed the Bookable system back, because we wanted the phone system to be up and running and the team trained in that before we put through a new system that customer engagement also needed to get to understand and work with as well. Does that answer all this?
Yeah, just one more piece around the ERP, so Altitude and the project there. That's obviously another big critical piece with all the information that'll be coming in through phones, how that's integrated into the end solution there.
So we've definitely highlighted to that project team that we're getting a new phone system, and Shane, who is the manager for IS, is involved in both projects as well. So he'll definitely be one of the key components to making sure that all of those linkages are in place.
Kata.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just really want to clarify that at present we have not planned for any integration or interface between these systems. That's not to say something that we cannot we'll look into it in the future, but as per the current scoping and the plan, there is no integration between these systems, and it's purely because of the timing. So the contact center and telecom solution are being implemented sooner rather than, in comparison to the ERP, which is going to be sometime next year.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think my only concern with doing a project of the scales that we are working at, when integrating or putting in systems, integration is really critical if you want to streamline things. So it's something that I'd really like to see moving forward.
Councillor Woods.
Thank you, Chair Erina. Thanks, Dana, because I'd like to just tease out a little bit on page 110 around your information centre inquiries. I want to thank you for taking on board some of the concerns I expressed at the last meeting about ensuring that into the future we have a really good way of tracking what these information centre inquiries look like, because higher up there's a large volume of them, which obviously included Woodville, but an explanation here, I'm thinking, there's not a lot happening. So I'll be really keen to see what the next report looks like. And just as a matter of interest, it may be worthwhile, because historically the Dannevirke Information Centre used to provide us with a written report or an annual report, so it might be worth looking at the factors that they recorded way back then, because it'll be really good to be able to demonstrate how the process that we've followed in bringing it in-house reflects that we're still keeping up with the level of inquiry. So I'm looking forward to the next iteration, but thanks for the work that you're doing on that, Dana.
Thank you, Dana, for your report. The recommendation is that the report from the Customer Engagement Manager dated July 26 concerning the Customer Engagement Management Report be received. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Corlett, and seconded by Councillor Amboy. Thank you. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Welcome to the front, Sandy and Sarah. It's good to see you back for a little bit. So we've got the Group Manager of People, Capability and Customer Engagement. Over to you.
Tēnā koutou. So today I am just going to talk to a couple of updates to this report. The most exciting of which is that we have successfully recruited to the Community Development Officer position, and that Raylene Treader will be starting with us on the 7th of September. So we're very excited for that to happen, and Sarah has been very gracious in continuing some support through to council through a casual contract in the meantime. So thank you, Sarah. Another thing to note is that the installation for the solar renewable energy project through ECA is now commencing for the 3 sites that have accepted quotes. So we're working with those to progress those installations. Also, just to acknowledge that the contestable fund round 1 is closing in less than a fortnight. I checked earlier and we have received 12 applications so far. Other than that, we will take the report as read and happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
No questions from the floor? Councillor Corlett's just going to ask one anyway.
Thank you, Chair. It's an easy question, and I think it goes back to the communications team. And the reason I brought up the publicising of posts from the council, I hadn't seen the contestable fund one come up anywhere. It didn't come up in any of my feeds. I didn't see it on our community page. I had to go back to check if council had put it up there, and they had, and yeah, it just wasn't fed, so we ended up getting it on the community page. But that was just a comment from there, so yeah, that was just something I noticed.
Thank you, Sandy. The recommendation is that the report from the Group Manager of People, Capability and Customer Engagement dated 16th of June 26 concerning the Community Development Management Report be received. Can we have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Kennedy, seconded by Mayor Scott. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. So our lucky last report is the district-wide contestable fund accountability reporting. Thank you, Sandy, for bringing this. It's quite great to see what all the great projects that the funding that's provided from the contestable fund goes into. So thank you, and I'll hand it over to you.
Awesome, thank you. Yes, I just want to say that it's the first time coming to you guys with this kind of report. So it's a learning for us all, I think. If it's too brief or too much, just let us know. We're more than happy to change how it's presented to you guys to make it easier and more efficient. I just noticed, reading through it just today, that the round for 2025-2026, that accountability report, the first round isn't due until next month, so it's not overdue. Yeah, I'll take any questions.
Mayor Scott.
Thanks very much, Chair Erin. Yeah, I was quite surprised to see some of the overdue accountability reports, and good that it's being followed up. It's really a couple of questions on that. Is there any response at all when they're being followed up? And I see that there's no. And clearly, we won't be able to consider these for any future funding until we receive them. Okay.
So just on that, so when I was in the role, more permanent, but so it's the 6 month mark. I would always send them an email to say, hey, your accountability is due in 6 months' time. I'd do that again in three months till the due date, 6 weeks, and the week before. So there's definitely, I've had the communications from our side, which, I just want to actually add Danny Burke Community Board is coming. Ali is chasing that up for us. So that's one that we can take off hopefully in the next week or so. But yeah, just to add on that one.
And thank you. Just as a request, can we ensure that these outstanding accountability reports are flagged when the panel is making their decisions on the next round? Just to make sure that they're front of mind and we're aware of what groups have. I do wonder if there is, there's not a lot of them. If we pick up the phone and just make sure, because I know some of these organisations are really important organisations in our community that will probably be horrified, and it's probably not because they're choosing not to do it. Somehow it slipped through the cracks. And the other thing, just to briefly mention to committee members, is I've made a suggestion with the accountability report. So I think this is a great level of detail for the report, and I'm not sure if others would like it, but I would quite like to see the full accountability report. So that could well be just shared out to all councillors when they come in, because I think that's quite helpful, particularly as we move into the long-term plan. And we will have to be making decisions about budgets in relation to activities like this. So thanks, Tim.
Councillor Wards.
Thanks, Chair Erin. A similar thing to Mayor Scott. Loved the level of detail for this. It was really easy to go through and think, wow. Because across that period of time, you kind of lose sight of who might have benefited from it. And a similar question to Mayor Scott is slightly concerned, about the level of funding that we haven't received accountability reports on, and would concur that we need to make sure there is quite a stringent process if, we haven't got it, because there is some very good community groups in there that would be nice to know that they've been complied with the process that we knew was a bit of a punt to do. But love the level of detail. It was a really good executive summary of everything positive that this fund had contributed to. So thanks for doing that, Sarah.
Yes, thank you, ladies. It's great to read and to have that available to the community to see where the money is going. The recommendation is that the report from the Group Manager, People Capability and Customer Engagement dated the 30th of July concerning the district-wide contestable fund accountability report be received, and I can move that. And we just need a seconder. Councillor Corlett. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. So that's it today for the Community Connections Committee. Thank you all for attending. Until next time.